Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing a Recon the role-playing game advice video on weapons and damage. I have done videos where I touched on this topic before, but I figured this time I'll do a video specifically about it. As a mission director, combat and damage and wounds are a big part of your game. It is a game about war, after all. What surprises me is how little many players and some mission directors know about guns and explosives and the damage they inflict on the human body or on inanimate objects and different materials. Many games only deal with, you got hit for, he rolls dice and 18 points of damage and then they move on. I don't like that. I usually try to elaborate on hit location and the consequences thereof. One thing you have to be careful of is the $1 million wound and the permanently debilitating wound. Those are two wounds that I talk about in some other Recon videos. Go check those out. For just in case you don't know, the $1 million wound prevents further military service, but does not make the character disabled. So in other words, you can't be in the war anymore, but you get to go home. But you're not disabled. You can still live a normal life. That kind of thing. That's what they call a $1 million wound. A permanently debilitating wound prevents further military service regardless of the damage a character sustains. 10 points of damage that takes out a hand or an eye or something like that permanently. Yeah, that's you can't be in the military like that. Not in Vietnam. A badly wounded character must have the opportunity to heal up, possibly at a MASH unit or some hospital in the rear, so that they can participate in future missions. If a player character loses an eye or a hand or a leg, they're medically discharged. As the mission director, be sure to keep this in mind when you're saying, well, you got hit in the arm for X amount of damage. Yeah, you got to be careful not to make sure that the character doesn't lose that arm. You see what I'm saying? Shrapnel in the eye could make him lose vision in the eye, which would make him ineligible for military service. They would discharge him for that. It's the same as a character dying in the field. He's got to make him a new character. You see what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind. As for the weapons in the game, I'm going to give a quick rundown because somebody says, I'm going to throw a grenade. What kind of grenade? I don't know. Make up your mind because it's a quick situation. You got to know. So here we go. Grenades. Fragmentation grenades. These explode and can do some explosive damage, but they primarily rely on shrapnel being blasted out by the charge to shred victims' flesh. This is an anti-personnel grenade. It's designed to kill people, not blow up buildings. Then you have the high explosive grenade. These explode and rely on a large explosive charge to do damage to structures as well as enemy soldiers. It's good against people and structures. High explosive. White phosphorus, Willie Pete, incendiary rounds. The white phosphorus grenades, incendiary grenades, white phosphorus grenades, WP, Willie Pete grenades. I'll get it right in a minute. These explode and scatter burning chemical white phosphorus all over the area. White phosphorus is one of the nastiest substances on the planet. It burns as long as it has oxygen, and it burns hot enough to melt steel. Imagine what that will do to a human body. Yeah. Now, a note on grenades. Offensive grenades have a blast radius smaller than the range that they can be thrown. Meaning, you're in combat, you're moving around, you throw the grenade over there and blow up the bad guys. Okay. Generally, fragmentation grenades fall into those categories. Defensive grenades have a blast radius bigger than the range that they can be thrown. Can defensive grenades be used offensively? Sure. But the player character needs to make sure they don't get hit with their own weapon. Fragmentation grenades dropped into enclosed areas, for example, like a tank or a bunker, they're devastating. Hand grenades make great booby traps as well. Keep that in mind. You tie the grenade to a tree behind some foliage and run a tripwire from the pin across to another tree. Make sure the wire runs across a trail. Somebody's walking along, they hit the tripwire, it pulls the pin, boom. They make great booby traps, just saying. Satchel charges are large packs of C4 used to demolish large fortifications. The problem with that is you can't really throw them very far because they're fairly heavy. So you got to get up close, throw it inside the, pull the pins and throw them inside the bunker. Yeah, they're tricky to use, but they're very effective. C4 is a devastating high explosive. Just saying. Primacord or det cord is a roll of what looks like yellow rope. It's an explosive used to level small trees and clear out landing zones for helicopters or to take out other light fortifications. I read a report one time where the guy, they had a demolitions guy in the group, and all he had was a roll of det cord, and they had a light building, wooden building that the bad guys were in. They needed to take them out, and they really couldn't expend the time to do it. So this guy crawled over at night and wrapped the primacord all around the building and blew it up. So, C4. Yeah, okay. I'll make sure I'm in the right place. C4 is a heavy explosive. It is a nasty explosive. Here's the beauty of it. It burns hot, but it won't explode without an electrical charge. That's why you have detonators. Sometimes soldiers will use a small amount of C4, set fire to it, because it burns really hot, and so they use it to heat their coffee and stuff. So, keep that in mind. A little bit of history there. Rockets are designed to penetrate armor and thick fortifications. If shot at a human being, it will literally blow the body apart. A near hit will cause shrapnel damage and explosive damage, but if you shoot somebody with a rocket, hit them in the chest with it, yeah, they're done. They're done. I can't imagine anyone surviving that. All right, now we're going to get on to the meat and potatoes of the whole thing, bullets. There are 5 ways that bullets kill people. The first is impact. Impact damages the outer skin and causes blunt force trauma, knocks the person down. That in and of itself can kill. Then there's shock. Shock of, oh my God, I got shot. There have been people who have been shot in the arm, and shock killed them. They just died from shock. Okay? So shock is an important thing as well. Then you have penetration. The bullet passes through the skin, the outer layer of skin, in and starts penetrating vital internal organs. If your internal organs are perforated, chances are they don't work, and if they don't work, the human body dies. Then you have blood loss, where, the wound happened, and then afterwards they lay there and they bleed to death. Blood loss. And one of the more heinous ways is infection, because once the bullet penetrates the skin, it means they've also penetrated the clothing. Dirt and biological organisms, germs and what all from the clothing can get into the wound and cause a nasty infection. Infections kill more. During the Russian campaigns with Napoleon, infection killed more people than muskets. Though they didn't have penicillin at the time, so, So those are the 5 ways that bullets kill. High-powered rifle ammunition, 7.62 millimeter, 5.56 millimeter, 30-06, etc. They punch right through light armor, cinder blocks, trees, etc. We're talking right through. The M1 Garand is a semi-automatic rifle, World War II vintage. It fires the 30-06 round. 30-06 is a very, very popular hunting round. My brother loves the 30-06, and rightly so. The 1917 Browning 30 caliber machine gun fires 30-06 ammo as well, except it's a machine gun. Imagine that spraying an area. The 50 caliber Browning machine gun, the Ma Deuce. That ammunition punches through just about anything short of a tank. There's more powder in a BMG round than there is in a fragmentation grenade. armored personnel carriers, trucks, buses, sandbags, brick walls, bulkheads, steel girders, enemy helmets, etc. are pretty much useless to stop 50 caliber rounds. Pistol rounds usually do not penetrate trees, light armor, or body armor. That's why pistols are considered backup weapons. They're great for personal defense, but you're not going to punch through body armor to hit them. The 9mm, when it hits the human body, it makes nice, neat holes without much blunt force trauma. Lots of blood loss, though, because it'll shoot right through, it'll zip right through the body. If you've looked at a picture of a 9mm, it has a sharp point as opposed to a rounded nose, and it literally punches right through. The 45 caliber ACP has lots of blunt force trauma and is designed to stop a 250-pound man. When they were testing it out, they used it to kill cattle. So, the 38, the 45, when it hits, it literally rips its way through. It has a round nose, and it's just terrifying. The 38 is supposed to be a tweener round. Revolvers. I'm a big fan of the 357 Magnum. That's just me. A 357 Magnum round is essentially an up-powered 38. Revolvers have less ammunition than automatics, but you can put special ammunition in them, like, for example, hollow points. Hollow points expand on impact. They do essentially less penetration, but more blunt force trauma and tissue damage. They're designed to make big ass holes, and that's what they do. I'm a fan of revolvers for a personal reason, but a lot of people like automatics, and if you've got an automatic that works well for you, amen. I have my concealed carry. I carry a 357 Magnum revolver. Special ammunition like hollow points and stuff like that, wad cutters, that kind of thing, it's hard to get in war zones. Making your own is difficult and requires special equipment. That's why 45 ACP is pretty well favored by special forces. Navy SEALs, Green Berets, like that, they love the 45 over the 9mm because it has much more stopping power. If you have to fall back and rely on your pistol, you want something that's going to stop the bad guy. Period. And a 45 will do that. Period. So that's the rundown of the various weapons. The 22 caliber will kill, but it's also possible that it won't. I'm not a fan of 9mm because I know people who have used them in real world situations. A lot of people I know like them. I'm not a fan of them. There was a lady police officer in New Mexico. She shot a perpetrator 5 times with her 9mm. He got the gun from her and shot her in the head with it. They both survived. You don't hear that with a 45. You just don't do it. You don't hear it with 357 Magnum. You just don't hear it. So, all right. Well, this video went way longer than I wanted it to, so I'm going to let y'all go. You folks have a good day. I hope this helps. I really do. Realism is something you want to bring to this game. Trust me. You folks have a good day now. God bless one and all. We elect cookie-cutter politicians every single election cycle. Yes men who maintain the status quo and do just enough to make us believe the system still works. Imagine, if you will, a president who actually tries to fix things. If you like action, political intrigue, and a righteous crusade, check out my political thriller, The Righteous President.